All right, come join Kyle, John, and David as they go through what's on the playlist. Find out what's everyone's favourite at Chicken Soup for the Soul Entertainment. We have a few segments, to be honest. In and out points, no celebs and the gossip. Back in time where we're talking about the big M's, coming attractions, what the queue. Quick checks, who'll be laughing? You abundantly. Welcome to Dual Redundancy.
Yes, welcome to Deux, the only podcast where you can hear all latest in television, entertainment news with two meals with exactly the same opinions. I'm one of those hosts, David Allen, and another one is
John Berwick, and the third one is
Kyle Bridger. I would say that I am the raider to John's vault dweller, and Dave, you are the ghoul. The ghoul.
I had a feeling. Oh boy, yeah.
I don't know. That could mean that you're really cool. I have no idea where the series is going. So,
yeah. I mean, spoiler. I'm not dead. I mean, that's
well,
no. But I mean, yes and no. But like to start the series and then have a nuclear disaster, and then 219 years later, for me to still be around, that's pretty good.
yeah,
I'd say that's pretty good.
something's working out for you.
Yeah. So we're gonna talk about Fallout. We're going to talk about a movie we all saw together this weekend, Civil War. And we got a trailer to talk about in Joker 2. And we have this first segment. John, what is it?
in and out points.
In, order out.
In.
Order out. In, out.
Got a little worried there, John. I don't know if it was my internet. Oh my gosh.
I had a loop. Oh no.
We're back.
Yeah, I heard like the in, and I was like, it's line. Yeah, in out points. Okay, yes, it is in and out points. All right, we got some movies to talk about, some movies that are in development that were announced in the last week. The first one we're going to talk about, after making over $1 billion with Barbie, Margot Robbie is pulling from her toy box again for another hit. She's looking at Monopoly. That's where she's going. A Monopoly movie is in the works from Lionsgate and Margot Robbie's Lucky Chap production company. This live action feature will be inspired by the real estate inspired board game. Details are unknown, but Lionsgate chair says Lucky Chap has a clear point of view. So we don't know much about it, but we get a Monopoly movie with at least Margot Robbie producing this film from Lionsgate. Thoughts on this one, Kyle?
I don't know. I'm just scared now with all of these IP movies, So I don't really know. I'm kind of scared when I see any of this IP stuff. It's just like I feel like it's going to go bad. I feel like it's going to go south. I always have that feeling. I'm scared. So
it is scary. I mean, after Barbie, didn't we like announce or talk about how there was like a Mattel like cinematic universe that was some Polly Pocket and whatever.
8-Ball, or what? Magic 8-Ball.
Yeah, it's just.
But like, I don't know. Like, what are we gonna make this? Are we gonna make it like Succession Monopoly, or is it gonna be like kid?
Yeah, I was gonna say, is that really a good family movie? This could be just Succession. This is The Big Short. This is those movies. I mean, we doubted Barbie. People are like, how is this going to work? Greta Gerwig, Barbie, made $1 billion, Oscar-nominated film. Okay, so can she strike lightning, twice here and then put it in the bottle or whatever that saying is? I mean, it didn't work for Battleship. That was another board game movie. It didn't work for that film. It's like we haven't seen. I'm surprised we haven't seen. This is the one I was thinking about when I saw this headline. How come maybe we haven't? I just missed it. Candyland. How is there not a live action Candyland movie for kids?
Isn't there a horror Candyland movie?
Maybe that's Candyman, or right?
Something like that. I don't know.
Candyman. No, that's different. But like you get, and it's not the unknown. It's not the Willy Wonka Candyman. But no, I mean like Candyland live action, Lord Licorice, all that. Like they go on a journey looking for whatever it is. Like there's the plot already there. The plot Monopoly already. What are you doing? Like you're just gonna.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know how this is a movie, but While plot details are under wraps, there are already actors sending in their tapes to audition for the main role. Rich Uncle Pennybags or Mr. Monopoly. I believe we have a video of the first submission. Mr. Monopoly here reporting live from Kerplunk Cemetery in Gainesville, New York. It has been a terrible week for the community. After the many deaths caused by the Twister incident and the sunken battleship, the community also had to say goodbye today to Professor Plum. Earlier today, he was buried here after his mysterious murder earlier this week. Sign that guy up. Sign that guy up. I think he is our Mr. Monopoly.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, blast from the past on that
I
one.
know, that's so inside baseball.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, I think for the people it's gonna play to pretty good. But
Oh, okay.
I'm just
But
glad they
yeah,
didn't
I'd
show the
sign
rest
you
of
up.
the audition tape with how he pronounced reading a book.
Reading a book, yes.
Yeah.
I know.
Oh
Yeah.
my
Do you
God.
still got the juice? You still got the
We'll
Mr.
see.
Monopoly in there
Give me
somewhere?
the call, Margot. Give me the call. I'll be ready.
I love this idea of sending in tapes. Like, what are they sending in for Mr. Monopoly?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like when there's no script or anything yet. What are you sending in? Like, here's me with my
Yeah.
top
Does he even
hat.
have any
Like,
has he ever spoken in any TV commercial or anything? Like, do
not
we
that I
even
know of.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think anyone has really interpreted the character just like well, the previous applicant that we saw. So it's a blank slate. But what's wild is this is not the only IP movie that Margot is dealing into. Lucky Chap is also producing a live action Sims movie that was also announced in the last week. All right, the Sims movie. It's just okay,
Yeah,
you got lucky with Barbie. You made a lot of
yeah.
money. Maybe do you have to do every single thing? It's just
Yeah. That's strange, man.
yeah.
It'd be like them doing a movie about Second Life. It's like, aren't we telling a story into the story of people doing things? It's just so weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, it could get really meta, and all I know is this film better be in whatever that Sims language is.
Oh, the
Put
Simlish or
yeah, the whole movie should be like that. All the actors should be forced to speak that the entire time, and then they do have subtitles. They would never do that, but they should. They should make it as realistic as possible. But I don't know. I don't have any much more to say about these two movies. We'll see if they ever come out, and maybe they will be our next Best Picture nominees. Time will tell. Our other movie I want to talk about tonight is Saturday Night Live is getting very serious, with movies in the next year or two. Filming is underway for Reitman's SNL 1975 movie that they're working on. A lot of young actors are going to be playing the original cast, leading up to the night of it's Saturday night, the very first one. But it was also announced this week that Chris Farley, a biopic, is in the works with Paul Walter Hauser attached stars Chris Farley. What do you think about this one, guys? John, are you a Chris Farley guy?
I enjoy. I wouldn't say I'm super well versed in all his stuff, but anything I've seen him in has always been good. So yeah,
Mhm.
you know.
Kyle, I mean, I know you are. You are a man that lives down by the river.
Yeah, of
I completely
course.
butchered that line. I was not ready for it, but
Yeah.
yeah.
No, I mean I loved Chris Farley when I was younger. He was just like from SNL, that's the guy that was funny to me. Uh I I'm interested to see what they could do with this, but I feel like it's going to be so hard to match. Like Chris Farley was like one of one for that type of
The
dude,
energy,
so
yeah.
it's going to be so hard to match that. But I love Paul Walter Hauser and pretty much everything he's in. So he's done some like small little stuff that I like. So I'm down with it. It's just going to be really hard to match that energy for sure.
Yeah. I mean, I'm worried about anyone taking the part because it is so iconic. Just yeah, as you said, one in a million. I can't picture anyone else with the
Hmm.
mannerisms, the physical comedy, the acting, the voice, as good as Chris Farley would have been. But if anyone's gonna do it, I trust Paul Walter Hauser. If that's the thing
Hmm.
where it's okay, if you have to choose one person to do this, all right, I have some
Yeah.
faith in him from past projects, but I'm still worried, obviously. And then you look at behind the scenes of this film, it's kind of like 50-50 because you have Lorne Michaels producing via Broadway Video. So it's like, okay, you may get some access to, 30 Rock, Studio 8H, some behind the scenes stuff, some connections. Okay, that's good to have him on your side when you're making an SNL movie.
Mm-hmm.
The one I really scratch my head at though is Josh Gad. So Josh Gad is attached to direct this.
Mm-hmm.
He's a talented guy, Grammy winner, Tony nominated. Never been my cup of tea though. Like he's never worked for me in almost anything he's done. So,
Yeah.
no disrespect to him. It's never worked. But then I went to like look, okay, what else has he directed to get a feel for this? He has no directing credits on IMDb.
Mm.
No commercial, no TV episode.
Mm-hmm.
This is a lot to do for your debut film. Like
Yeah.
normally you start off something small, like to take on a project like this, like with, a lot of people are going to be looking at it to make sure it's right. Chris Farley, there's a lot of people that really want a good one here. This is a lot to chew on for your very
Yeah.
first film.
Yeah. I mean, if you take care with any project, I think it'll come out well. But
Yeah.
we've seen some first-time directors do great
Yeah,
things, like John
that's true.
Krasinski
Yeah.
and some others. But at some point, you got to get your shot. If they believe in him, then good. But yeah, it is surprising,
Yeah, it's like
especially for
hand
such
him
a
the keys,
iconic
like
character.
it's
Yeah,
like, all right, you're in charge of this one. And it's like, oh, like
yeah,
this classic car, I'm not sure if I'm ready for this one. Give me a beat up car
yeah,
first, or give me like a cheaper car first, and then I'll move
yeah,
up to the big one. But
yeah.
we'll have to wait and see on that. But
I
we
mean,
have
you
a
said
movie.
Lauren's producing it.
Lauren is one of the producers on it.
Yeah, so I mean, if he's down with you, I think
Yeah.
he has a pretty good success rate, even though he's crazy. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, definitely in the TV space.
Yeah,
Movie space, hits and misses. If you
yeah,
actually look at the SNL films, maybe more misses, but yeah, no, he's definitely a producer of a lot of great content. This movie, though, we're going to be talking about has a date. It's coming out this fall, whether we're ready or not, and that is Joker 2. In order to talk about it, let's go to the movies. Let's go to the coming attractions.
Here are some exciting coming attractions.
All right, we're going to be talking about Joker Folie Deux, the sequel to the 2019 Oscar-winning film starring Joaquin Phoenix, reprising the titular role of the Joker. We're also going to be adding in Lady Gaga as Harleen Quinzel, aka Harley Quinn. It's going to be released on October 4th. Just going off of the trailer. That's all we have to go off of. Let's start off with John. What do you think of Joker Folie Deux?
I'm torn. I really like the first Joker. I'm not a super like comic book or superhero movie person. However, I thought it was an interesting take on it all, and it made it more. It grounded it as a real person to me, kind of. So I really enjoyed that. I was into this one when they announced it, when they said it was a musical. I was cool with it. That sounds interesting. I can see it working. Lady Gaga does some great performances. Still on board with that. But very recently, I think they said that it was not going to be original music. It was going to be like
a jukebox musical.
Yeah, and that kind of made me go a little bit. So nothing in the trailer made me feel like that. However, I know that they cut these trailers super carefully. I mean, they cut, what was it, Mean Girls 2 to not even look like a musical.
Yeah.
So like
they do that with all the films, with Wonka,
yeah,
with
yeah,
Wicked,
you can only
even
go
the Wicked movie. They don't really make it seem like it's a musical.
Yeah, so you can really only go so far with believing that, what's shown in the trailer. But I don't know. I'm less. Yeah, it seems cool, and more. We'll see now. You know what I mean? So, not writing it off by any means, but I should go see that is kind of more like, all right, let's see how it does in the reviews before I go see that.
I hear you. And that's why I think a lot of it's been on the internet. I mean, there's a lot of people, some Joker diehards, which I would not put myself in, even
Not me.
if
no.
I liked the movie, I wouldn't put myself in that company. of those type of people. But then they're like, musical? I'm not watching that. And it's just like, oh, like it's okay, you just want the same movie again. You want him just like running down the stairs with a machine gun. Like what it like really, come on. Like at least I respect Todd Phillips for like just trying something new. A wild swing. I love it. Like go for something crazy because as people compared the first one, it's like, oh, you're just doing Martin Scorsese. You're doing Taxi Driver. You're doing The Kings of Comedy. Like you're doing those
Mhm.
films. At least with this, like go for it. Try something different with the character. Like I like the ambition. But we'll see if the musical, turns some folks off to it. The trailer did at least great views at first, I think it was like 167 million views in the first 24 hours. It's the biggest, most talked about trailer since Barbie. So there's a lot of interest in this film. Kyle, are you still interested after watching the trailer?
Yeah, I'm still interested. I don't like musicals either, but I think if you have Lady Gaga, you have to say, it's worth going to watch it. Because I feel like she's done pretty well. She's had some great performances. Um, and so that and the cinematic shots from
Yeah,
the
it
trailer,
looked great.
it looks so cool. I think the production value is there, and it still has that grungy vibe to it, which I dig. So I'm still in, although I do have my concerns like John, but I'm still in. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the thing that worries me of it is, I mean, even what we saw in the first film, even like with the Zazie Beetz character, but also when I look up what Folie means, it's a shared delusional disorder. It's about like
Mm,
people pretty much transmitting hallucinations, delusional beliefs to another individual. Obviously, probably
mm,
Joker to Harley, or maybe it's vice versa. But it's like I'm worried when we get too much into your own like head stuff, where it's like I don't want the movie to be like, oh, it was all a dream. None of
mm,
it was real. It's like, well, why am I? If he's just gonna be like, oh, in the beginning of the movie and the end of the movie, he's just gonna be in his like cell, and the whole movie didn't really actually take place, I'll be really mad. So I hate
mm.
when it being like kind of like, yeah, it was all a dream.
Yeah,
Look at all this crazy stuff that happened,
yeah.
and so we'll see on that. It looks like at least we get out, but again, is that just a dream? Like it looks like they escape from, the asylum,
Mm,
Arkham or whatever it is. Um, I will say maybe I'm looking a little too much into the trailer, but like there's a very iconic shot at the end. It's like with the smile, with the lipstick on the glass, him going up to it, and then it's like
mm-hmm.
because it looks like it's one of those like prison visiting things. Well, if she's on the outside, it's like, is this like the final shot of the movie? Is like she actually made it out, he's back in prison. That's the final shot, or is it like I don't know, maybe I'm reading too much into it, but it's like already it's like, oh, did we already get like the final shot because it's so like cool in the trailer? Mark it down if that's true. I'm taking the points on that one.
All
But
right.
um I will say it's just also like wild that Joaquin Phoenix is back. I mean, obviously they paid him a buttload of money to come back, but I can't think of another film when there's like an Oscar-winning performance. Like again, like there's like, you know what I mean? Like it
Mhm.
being in a sequel. I can't think of
Mm-hmm.
somebody winning an Oscar for something and then doing a sequel of that character. Like
Wait,
there
was
was no
anybody
Lincoln
from?
2. There was no like Daniel Day-Lewis reprising his role as Lincoln. Like I can't think
Yeah,
of
I was just thinking maybe like somebody from The Godfather, maybe or something.
that's actually possible. I mean, I guess technically the like Don Vito or like Don Corleone like was got two wins, one for Marlon Brando for part one, one for
Yeah.
Robert De
Okay.
Niro for part
Yeah.
two. But I think there's been nominations. I'm sure like Al
Hmm.
Pacino but even like Johnny Depp was actually
Yeah.
nominated for Pirates of the Caribbean, but then like the first one, and then wasn't nominated the other times, but he like did it again. So like there's been nominations, but I
Yeah.
can't think of like a win, especially
Yeah.
also like this soon. Um,
Yeah.
but I don't know.
But I mean, I think he's great for the role,
Oh
and
no, yeah,
I mean,
Mhm.
also the first one was crazy successful,
yeah,
so I'm sure he's
yeah.
down. And if the vision is there, I'm sure he would be down with it.
Yeah. First one made over $1 billion on a budget of like 50, 70 million. This one, the
Wow.
budget is over 200 million.
Wow.
So
I'm sure half of that is pay for the two of them, right?
yeah, I'm sure. Like I'm sure Todd Phillips got money. I'm sure
Yeah.
Joaquin and Lady Gaga got money. But and that's probably just. I think that's just production. We'll see. I'm sure marketing will be huge for this movie.
Mhm.
Looking at the rest of the cast, Brendan Gleeson's in this movie. I love Brendan Gleeson,
Yeah,
so
he's
excited to see
fantastic.
that. Zazie Beetz is back. I'm not exactly sure how. Again, if it's just another like hallucination he has.
Mm.
Um, but yeah.
It looks cool.
Yeah.
It looks cool.
So we'll wait and see on that one. Let's see. It's coming out in October 4th. But all right. Kind of in the same vein, it would fit right into this universe, I feel like, is another movie we saw. We saw it all together this weekend. Let's go to the movies. Let's go back.
We're back, baby.
Gotta get back in time.
All right, let's talk about Civil War, the movie, not the future, not the documentary that's going to be coming out in a couple of years. Civil War, the movie, the number one movie at the box office this past weekend from Alex Garland. This movie is a journey across a dystopian future America, following a team of military embedded journalists led by Kirsten Dunst. As they race across time to reach DC before rebel factions descend upon the White House, will they be able to get that interview with the president, Nick Offerman? All right. We're going to break it down. We're going to spoil this movie. We're going to break every single thing down about it as best we can. Let's start off with Kyle. What did you think of Civil War?
Oh man. So leaving the theater, I was pretty harsh on this movie.
I remember.
I I did not like it. I did not like some of the choices that were made. And I think I let my expectation coming into the movie kind of spoil my entertainment of the movie, I guess. But the main thing with this movie is it's called Civil War. So I went in based on the trailer and everything, thinking that that was going to be more the focus of the movie. But then as the movie's going along, we realize that we're just kind of thrown in there with the press that are navigating this new world. And we didn't get any of the logistics about what's happening. And I was upset about that. But I guess that was the point of the movie is like, there are no real logistics because everyone is in this on their own. And I think there's a couple of scenes to indicate that. So I'm forgiving of that manner now. But the fact that we have this press that is seemingly working with both sides or whatever forces are available, why would anybody care about them in the first place when it seems like we don't know what kind of world they're living in now, what kind of press is legit, and like, wouldn't they just be confronted a lot more in that sense? So I'm sure we'll go
Yes,
into
we
it a little
will.
bit more. The action sequences are great, but the story leaves a lot to be desired, and it should be called War Reporter, not Civil War.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff in there that I like. I feel like we'll see if anything changed from this past weekend when we saw it together to now, because I feel like I might have been in the middle of you guys, with Kyle, you being low. I might have like maybe switched a little bit with you, Kyle. Maybe we're more even. I don't know for sure, but like, yeah, because I had high hopes for this movie as well. I mean, just looking at like Alex Garland, his past stuff with Ex Machina and A24, Kirsten Dunst, Jesse Plemons, Nick Offerman, like all these pieces. I was like, okay, like I'm on board with this.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's the high expectations. I was like slightly disappointed. Maybe it's the marketing and title, which isn't exactly what I expected, which we'll get to that in a minute. But yeah, you said it. Like, there's some terrifying sequences. There's some great action scenes. Like, Jesse Plemons is terrifying. Like,
Mm-hmm.
when he's quizzing folks about like what kind of American they are with that gun, and he slowly, will put it down. Like, is he gonna shoot it then? Maybe
Mm-hmm.
not. Maybe, yeah. Maybe I will. Maybe like, and I was reading today, supposedly the original actor like dropped out days before the shoot, and Kirsten Dunst is like, "Oh, what about my husband? Like, I think he could do the part kind of thing, fill in last minute on this." And then he knocks it out of the park. Like
Yeah,
he's so good.
that's
Yeah.
crazy because he elevated the movie right after that. It went to another level after
Yeah.
he got on screen. So
Yeah, and we saw it in Dolby, and the explosions, they like shake the room. The gunfire felt so real, and like it was the final raid sequence. I'm sure we'll talk about on the Capitol. Like felt like chaos, and you were like with them, and like this isn't a $200 million blockbuster. Sure, it's A24's most expensive film at like probably like $50 million, but this is like it's doing action better than some of these like giant tentpole blockbusters that you are seeing, for such hundreds of millions of dollars. So there's a lot to like. There's some things we're going to get into that I nitpick and question. But before I get there, John, give me your overall thoughts on Civil War.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I didn't go into it really knowing anything. I knew the name, um, and I think you gave me a very brief synopsis of what it was beforehand. Even I don't even know if that was correct. I think you told me more about.
I don't know what I'm talking about,
No,
John.
no, I think you told me more about the warring factions in the report. You know what I mean?
Well, that's what I thought it was.
yeah. Which I'm not saying, I'm not knocking you, but like I didn't have any basis when I was going in. So to me, it told a story of these reporters, and I was there for it, and I enjoyed it. I mean, I think for me, the high points were all the cinematography. You had some very beautiful like in camera shots where you had all these like flares from the sunlight, or you had things framed a very certain way, or you had I guess like still shots of them taking photos while running, so you'd be you'd have a hand cam, and then it would be a photograph of a black and white image of what was happening, and it would be very detailed and very emotional, and it would kick right back into the action, and all that was fantastic. I really enjoyed that. But yeah, I definitely agree that based on what I've heard about the marketing and um, the lack of really any story outside of what we saw on the reporters, it kind of seems like they were trying to market it as something a little bit differently to try and get people to see it, rather than kind of presenting it as what it really actually was, which is kind of disappointing because, like I said, I thought it was great for what it was, but it just wasn't shown that way, I guess.
Yeah, and I think there's definitely something like whether it's like in the details or the logistics, and like we can talk about those now. It's like, you know, I hear in like the comments and reviews that I've read, and I'm sure I'll hear them when I post this episode, that like that was the point. Like, but it's like it's hard to like just gloss over these details. And when you title the film Civil War, when you have a poster that has like the Statue of Liberty with like it's like you're making this imagery and you're invoking this theme that we're going to expect, and there's like no backstory onto why we are fighting, who's on whose side, which side is which even. And sure, there's like talk before the movie came out, I think like in the trailer, like of the divisions that like make no sense. It's like, why are these states together? They never would be in our world. I'm fine with it. Like I don't need to know, oh, why is this one not working with this one? I don't
Yeah.
need to know that. I
Mhm.
I want something though to get me invested. Make up some whatever. Like I'm just gonna throw like, okay, Texas, California, New York, and Florida. They're going to be in an alliance now because they've had enough of carrying the economy of the country, like the four big states. It's the four big guys versus all the little countries that are not, the little states are not doing anything. Just give me like something. Like I don't need to like, even if it's like a throwaway, like it's just like I need to know like what are we fighting about? I mean, yeah, maybe
Yeah.
that is the point. Maybe they were just so worried about like, oh, let's not make it
Too
a
political.
blue state movie. Let's not make it
Yeah.
a red state movie. Like, but like, then why are you making it right now?
Yeah.
Like now, like, what is the movie trying to say? Like, we're like, oh, we're so
Yeah.
close to a civil war now. If we continue on the path we are on, it's like, yeah, I know I'm living this right now. I have a feeling that this will happen because I'm living it. Like, you're not commenting anymore on it, and to call a film Civil War, set it in 2020's America or about then, and then also release it in an election year. Don't get mad when people want more to be said about it. Like you specifically chose now to release this movie. What are you saying? Like that's the part I was having issue with.
You know what's interesting though is maybe either the most impactful or second most impactful scene with Jesse Plemons. We didn't really get what he was going at. We only got that he's anti-non-American, not what kind of American. You know what I mean? So like that didn't really give us any info at all. But that was definitely one of the most impactful scenes. Like
that was, but I think the reason why it terrified me, I guess this will answer my own thing, but like it doesn't at the same time, if that makes sense. Where in that scene where like they're like, oh, like what kind of American are you? What state are you from? And when like the first one says like Florida, it's like, is that the right answer? I don't know. And then okay, I guess it is. And the next person says Missouri. It's like, right, is that the right answer? And like it was terrifying because I didn't know what the right answer was. And again, I guess that's the point. It's like, yeah, there's no laws, anything goes. It's like, okay, but like that's his thing. Like I just if it I guess it's just complete chaos. Like you just call this like chaos war, like chaos the movie. Like that, and I guess that would have been better, I think, instead of calling it Civil War in the day and time that we are at right now. Like I don't know, like it felt like it was pulling from real life, but then it was like hiding the details. It was like they're pretty much implying, yes, this is the America we're living in. Like there's very similarities, I think, with the president in this movie and a previous president we had, especially like with his speech and some of the dialogue he was saying. But it's like, oh, we're not going to make that connection because we also want this to play to everyone. It's like trying to have your cake and eat it too. Like it's playing both to me, which pick a side. It's the war.
Well, honestly, I think he wanted to make a different type of movie. And to me, it's just like, let's use this as a backdrop for this other type of movie. Because it would be cool. It's a cool idea. But it's really, the movie's not about the war per se. It's about how people can function in war zones. And it's like, well, we've already done Afghanistan and Iraq and all those. Let's create this other backdrop to let people know, hey, you might experience this and it might be around the corner and you've never experienced it before. Get ready, kind of thing. I don't know, but
no, I mean that definitely makes sense. Yeah.
But I agree. I think it's just hijacking maybe the moment, or I don't know, using it as a pawn rather than really fleshing out this entire story. I think they're just using the idea of that. Does that make sense?
No, yeah, and it goes back to what you said, whether it's call it like war journalists or like, war photographers or whatever. It's like obviously that's not as catchy. That's not as like, ooh, I gotta go see that. Like but I mean, I'll be curious to see like how this movie like plays the following weekends when it probably does go more wide, or after people said, oh, actually that movie's not about that. It's actually about these journalists who did like maybe we'll see how it connects. But like it's like one of those things where it's like I still liked a lot of parts of the film. It's just like I'm also like, what is the film trying to say? And I don't know if it could connect with me. Like I didn't get fully invested in it. And I know, Kyle, you mentioned this kind of like with the press in general. Like unfortunately, press are not treated well in 2024 America, the one we are in without the Civil War. But then in this world where there's like anarchy, like they're still following rules in this weird way. Like there's many times where it's like, I got a press badge. It's like, oh, okay, yeah, you're good. You're good. You come with us. It's like, I feel like it's like a weird suspension of disbelief. It's correct. We should treat the press good. Like, but in this world, what we've seen with Jesse Plemons, like it's like this, just to have a lot of people like respecting the boundary of that badge is weird to me. And like there's points where at the very end, like they're literally alongside, like it's just like it's like SEAL Team 6, like they're
I know,
with helmets, padding, vests, this and that. They're like next to them, shoulder to shoulder, not even wearing helmets, not wearing any head, wearing like just a nylon vest. It's just like what, like this, like when the actual journalists are in fighting or taking photos in war zones, they got a helmet on. They are standing back a little bit. Like it's just wild. Like
it is.
They're on both sides, no questions asked. Just like I don't know. I think the issue also is like one of the journalists in this is like a 23-year-old, but looks like they're 15.
Yeah,
It's like, this
she
is a
really does look
child.
young.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah, so like that part really took me out of it. Like, even though that raid was so good at the end, it's
Uh-huh.
like, this is not believable. But I'm sure you have more to say on that, but I don't know.
Yeah, yeah, I mean the raid was cool, but yeah, she did look way younger. And when I had to look up her age because I'm like, how old was she really? And yeah, she was like 25 playing a 23-year-old. I guess she would have
Hmm.
been around that age when she was filming it, but yeah. I don't, the the whole press thing makes me angry. I agree with everything you said with it. It was my chief complaint because it kept taking me out of every war scene because I'm like, they're turning around with a camera like they're holding a gun. I'm like, you are stupid. You need to sit back, please.
You're like
It was
literally like jump in front
insane.
of a tank. I gotta get this shot. It's
Yeah,
just
I'm
like,
like, what in the world, dude?
um, and I have one more nitpick here. They go into this raid, into the White House there, and it's like as they were going in, I'm like, where the president's gonna be? I'm like, if he's in the Oval Office, that's gonna be the dumbest thing in the world. It's like that's where they found him. It's like, oh
Yeah.
my God! Like, did you even? Can you at least hide under the desk, hide behind a curtain? Like, it's just when we've had other events in our real life immediately there's like every single person like in the Senate and like House of Representatives go into like a bunker. Like
Yeah.
that didn't happen here.
Yeah,
Like
I know.
they didn't an hour or two before this take a helicopter and send them to Alaska or
Yeah.
Milwaukee or just some random other place. Like it's
Yeah.
just I don't know. That was just like funny to me. Like of course he's in the Oval Office, like
Yeah.
still signing some checks or something. Like I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess there's just like logistic questions. Also, it's like you see like Kirsten Dunst like uploading the images, I guess, to like the internet, but it's also like most of the people, like as we're here, like don't believe that this war is happening, but like I don't even think we see anyone else like with a computer. Like the
Yeah.
rest, like so
I
it's like
know.
okay, who's really is there even Wi-Fi? Because I think at one point there's like somebody has like a phone they're looking through like film on the phone. It's like, yeah, it's good for like this. But like, obviously there's like no not making phone calls on it. So it's I
Yeah.
don't
Yeah. They made a
know.
point to say no service, so yeah, that's kind of
Yeah.
weird.
But so yeah, again, I'm nitpicking. I know that's not the point, but like
Yeah.
I just thought those like things were just like funny in retrospect. But again, I mean, it's visually a great movie. The acting's there. Some sequences are really intense, but
Hmm.
oh yeah, there's just some things where it's like at the end of the day, I don't know what fully the movie is trying to comment on and say, but
Yeah. The action sequences are cool. They're cool and sad at the same time between the photography like John was mentioning, um but yeah, it's intense. It's those action sequences are intense. And the acting is great. So they're doing exactly what they've been asked to do, you know.
yeah, the I'm forgetting his name, but Kirsten Dunst's like companion there. I saw him in Mr. and Mrs. Smith. He plays the other
Wagner Mora.
yes,
Yeah.
plays the other Mr. Smith,
Mm,
and I
right.
really liked him in this, and I liked
Yeah.
him in both projects so far. So he's a
Yeah.
new actor on my list to keep
Well,
an
you
eye out
should
for.
you should watch Narcos then
And
because
he's in Narcos.
he's in
Okay.
the beginning seat.
Mm.
Yeah, those are good too. Yeah, you should check
Mhm.
them out.
So I know we spoiled the hell out of this movie, but would you guys recommend this movie for people who still want to see it after
Mm.
everything we said?
Mm,
John.
I think if you're going in understanding what it is, that it's about these journalists,
Yeah.
yes. If you're going in looking for a movie about a U.S. Civil War and the consequences and interactions that these different factions are having, then no.
All right. That's solid. Kyle.
yeah, I agree with John. I think, in fact, if the whole reason you're going to see it is for the action sequences, then yeah, definitely do it in the theater because you're gonna get that experience and that'll be intense. But just beware of the story, know what you got going in, and just enjoy the action.
All right. That is it for this movie. We have one more thing to talk about tonight. We've been excited for this for a bit, especially I believe John, and it's Fallout. The series premiere. Actually, all the episodes of this first season are out on Amazon April 10th. First one we're going to really talk about tonight. We're really going to focus on the premiere, which is called The End. In a future post-apocalyptic Los Angeles brought about by a nuclear decimation, citizens must live in an underground bunker to protect themselves from radiation, mutants, and bandits. All right, here. So this is, of course, based on a very popular video game. So I want to turn to John first. John, what did you think? Well, first tell me your background with Fallout, but then also what did you think of this premiere and how it correlated and just everything about Fallout?
Yeah, so far there have been what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I guess 5 mainline games in Fallout. You got Fallout, Fallout 2, 3, 4. Oh no, I guess if you count New Vegas as 6, and then Fallout 76, which is the newest one. I've played 3, 4, Vegas, and 76. So I haven't played the first 2. The first 2 are very different. They're kind of like an older style, like almost top down or isometric shooter kind of game rather than a first person shooter game. So I haven't played those, but I've played all the more recent ones and I enjoy them. They have a very interesting setting. I mean, it's something you think about. The end of the world's coming. What are you gonna do? Like, it's just a different scenario, whether it's zombies or a fallout or a virus or whatever. So it's something that I think people
The
think
Civil
about.
War.
Civil War. There you go. But yeah, I enjoyed I'm up to episode 4, but I'll only talk about the first one. I've enjoyed them so far. Definitely has a lot of I wouldn't say references because it would be self-referential at that point, but like there's a lot of care taken for details in the game that aren't plot points or whatever. Little details like the kind of food and stuff they eat and all that. That is all equally represented in this series. Part of the lore in Fallout is there's all these food companies that are making like vacuum packed or whatever mac and cheese and deviled eggs and cereal which is like 400% sugar or whatever, and all those are reflected in this. And they have commercials and stuff on the TVs when you see them and all that, and I think the world is dressed very well. Obviously having Todd Howard, who has produced all, I believe he produced 3, 4, 76. I'm not sure he worked on New Vegas. I don't think he did. On this project, that really is helping them out, I think, in being able to tie this world into the games very well. So I definitely have been enjoying what I've seen so far.
All right, so seems like a strong review so far. He's gone ahead. He's watched a few. But Kyle, what did you think? I mean, are you a Fallout player?
I was thinking about this the other day. I was seeing a couple of scenes on the TV, and I'm like, have I played this before? It just seems like maybe I played one of them before, briefly, probably if I did it all. I know of it. I don't know much about it, so it's interesting to me. I can kind of tell some of the video game aspects of it in certain scenes and like the stuff with the medicine and just the way they shot a couple of the scenes reminded me of, this feels like they're paying homage to like a video game. So it was cool in that sense. The characters seem interesting. We've got this fish out of water scenario with this girl that's gonna end up coming from like this place that's never been out forever, So that'll be interesting. But it seems like also her father was in the mixture and knew a little bit more, or the reason that this outside force wants her father seems like an interesting storyline. So there's a couple of different storylines going on that are very interesting. It's going to be interesting to see how they merge. And I'm digging all the characters. I like them.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm coming in with next to nothing. I feel like I remember first hearing about Fallout from a quick check when John was playing Fallout back in the day, and I think I think we talked about the trailer on a quick check at some point. but I'm going in pretty, open to this. I don't have much to base it off of, and I think it's like, and I like, as John said, like the details of things where it's like I don't need to have watched the game, but I could see that the care that like, this is being
Mhm.
made by somebody who knows Fallout. Like they really care about the source material. They want to get it right. The details are there. Like the production design looks great so far. You can tell Amazon is spending the money on
Mhm.
this. Set up this episode's kind of really in like three parts, with our three main characters so far. Two, I really got into. One, I had a hard time getting into, and we could talk about that in a bit. So maybe we should go kind of like character by character, and kind of the three stories of the episode just kind of set they are and what's going on. We could start off with the person we see at the beginning and at the end. We start off with Walton Goggins' character, I believe, Cooper Howard in the beginning here. First, I thought this was the 1960s, with the TVs, or 1950s, but this is 2077, John? Something about
This
that around
this
there?
is yeah, this is before the war. What happened was there was like the retro future kind of thing where everything runs off of like nuclear power, but it's still like old tubes and everything. So you got the big like tube TV, and you got where saying in chat, where Ducky's saying in chat, the future from a 1950s perspective is basically what it is. So
Mm.
you have
It's like the Jetsons kind of thing, a little bit. A
kind
little
of,
bit.
but the tech is still retro.
Yeah.
So like all the cars, which they don't really show too many of them, but they all have like nuclear generators in them because they run on nuclear power, of course. Like stuff like that, and the TV runs on nuclear power, and it's a big tube TV that does this, or stuff like that. So yes, it is the future, but it's retro future.
Yeah. But is it actually like in this world, like the future, like it is, not our time? Like I mean, I guess it's a different time, but like this is supposed to be like, did they have all of our like history kind of thing, and then like something happened and
Mm,
now like they're in the 2077, or is it just like
no, that's just
it's
the
like a
way it
different world
progressed.
and they were like,
Yeah,
okay, it's like
I'm
a
pretty sure
different,
it's just a different world that progressed that way.
okay. All right, it's all these multiverses and universe timelines um and for me, like I will say, because I love, I think I mentioned this like with Civil War, like when we were in person, like I love like kind of like the pre-apocalypse stuff and like seeing the downfall of things. So I was really into like this first like 10-15 minutes, and like I'm like, I'm gonna be, obviously I don't think we're gonna get too much of like the downfall of things. We're probably gonna be like, oh, it's 219 years after and that's it. But it's like between this and Civil War and like The Walking Dead was a big culprit. It's like I hate when they like yada yada it. Like I know that's not the story
Yeah.
that they're telling here, but I really want somebody to tell that story. Like it's a good story. Like in Walking Dead, where it's like, oh, we got a spin-off. It's called Fear the Walking Dead. You're gonna see the downfall of the world, and it's a prequel and all this stuff. And that lasted like for 4 or 5 episodes, and then they're like, just kidding, time jump. It's like, oh no,
I
like I want to
yeah.
see it. I want to see how we got from point A to B. Don't give me point C. Like,
I think part of it is the build up to this point is like DLC for Fallout 3. So they're up in Anchorage, Alaska, fighting against, I believe, the Chinese at this point, and that is before the bombs start being thrown. But then after the bombs kind of hit, nothing really kind of happens. Like it's nothing for a long time, and like you'll see in some of the next episodes, some of the civilizations, like they're not like thriving. They're just like there. You know what I mean? So I don't think there really is a huge like, oh, this is how society rebuilt, because it's not really rebuilt yet. It's kind of just there,
I don't even want the rebuild. I just want to see the downfall. I want to see like
Yeah,
how did
yeah,
we get to this point where there's a
they're
vault in, the ground? Like who built this and when? Like,
yeah,
I
they're
want the
probably
Better
not
Call
talking much.
Saul of Fallout.
They're
Like,
not doing too much about that because I think some of the games had covered some of
oh,
that.
okay.
Is my thought. Not necessarily how the vaults were made, but like you find out in the games that like there's a bunch of control vaults and there's a bunch of vaults that are doing experiments and stuff. And so like you find the remnants of those while you're playing the game, and you might go into one and find all these like logs or stuff that is saying like, this one we made all their water into jello and they have to survive, like, just dumb stuff like that. Or it could be something more psychological, but like that is kind of what you find out afterward, and that's kind of like a plot device of the game. So they don't really do too much beforehand because you find out after what happened beforehand. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get you. I get you. So maybe stuff is coming, but we jump at the end. We're back with this character, but it's been 219 years. There's been some radiation. It's transformed Cooper into the ghoul. Is told about a bounty by these three hunters that want to work with him to get this money, and he kills all three to pursue the bounty alone. It looks like. Kyle, what do you think of this character just in general? Because I know you are a Walton Goggins, I think a fan, I believe. I mean, from
Yeah, I
from
think he's
Righteous
good.
Gemstones and
Yeah.
stuff like that. What do you think of this character so far?
I I think it's cool. I think it's a badass character. I mean, the look itself, and they got a great actor to play him. I'm all for it. And then I think in the second episode, because I watched on in the second
Oh,
episode, he shows off why he's badass, man. So I think it's a great character. I think it's a great actor playing the character. I think it's a good match.
yeah. I think we might have glossed over it. What have you thought so far of Fallout? Obviously, you're going ahead on this. Thoughts of this show and just like the whole apocalyptic genre. Are you a fan of that kind of like
Yeah,
material?
I have been thinking more. I think like you, Dave. I've been thinking more like I do like this edge of dystopia or on the verge of like dystopic kind of stuff. So, even recently I watched Blade Runner 2049
Mm.
again, and that's very like that. So, um, yeah, I'm down with this world. I think that's why I'm so interested in it. I am interested in the show, and I like a lot of the characters that are in it. So,
Yeah.
yeah. But yeah,
Um,
I'm down with the setting for sure.
yeah. And somebody else who's 219 years later is Lucy. She's living in a vault,
Hmm.
underground. We join her on her wedding day, a big day. She was
Hmm.
traded kind of like for another like with a vault, like so it's like, okay, we'll give you a breeder, to marry Lucy here in exchange for like seeds and machinery and stuff like that. And we have this wedding, but he's actually not from another vault. He's from the surface. He's a raider, and this group ends up, after a big battle, takes her dad. Her dad is not there anymore, so she decides, okay, I am going to explore. I'm going to leave this world that I've known for so long to find my father, and she's going to be like this fish out of water. I think outside of like the cold open flashback, with Cooper, this might be my favorite section of the three. Just seeing this world underground, like, yeah, like how are they
Mm.
coping with all this? How are they living? How it works with other groups? And now to see her, come to the surface, we will be just like how like she's a fish out of water. We're gonna now explore this world through her eyes.
Mm.
So I think I'm most excited with this character and with these scenes. What do you guys think so far of Lucy, John?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I don't want to dive too deep because some of the further episodes explore this a little bit more in detail. But as far as I know, having two or three vaults connected like this is kind of a little bit of
Mm,
a unique perspective on vaults, because normally you have a vault and that's it. It's just a vault. And it seems like I think 31, 32, and 33 all have some sort of potential interconnect going on in the show. And it'll be interesting to explore that because, like I said before, if you know your Fallout kind of lore, yeah, some of these are control vaults that are normal, but those aren't usually the ones that get mentioned. So what is up with these two or three vaults that are together, and how is that going to fit into the show? I think is going to be interesting to see.
Mm.
mm. Yeah, any thoughts on Lucy, Kyle, and that storyline?
I'm interested because it seemed like a conversation between Moldaver and her father that there was something extra going on, or he knows more about this whole situation or what's happening, or maybe even how these vaults are ruled and stuff like that. So Um, yeah, I'm down with that. I also think with Lucy, since she is a fish out of water and she's very naive, it's going to lead to, comedic moments, scary moments. It really blends itself to like a lot of exploring this world and figuring it out as we go along. And I think it's a cool world to experience because not only is like everything a lot has changed, the bugs have changed, the creatures have changed. So it's cool.
Yeah. So let's move to the last person that we're going to be meeting really in this episode is Maximus. For me, the
Mhm.
weakest maybe of the three. Maybe I was
Mhm.
just zoning out at this point. Maybe they just did a bad job for me setting up this army group, I guess the Brotherhood of Steel, and why I should like care about them and this group and what they're doing. Like
Mhm.
I mean, it's maybe a disservice because it's like, yeah, like the first story. Oh, you got Walton Goggins. Boom, like your attention's there. Like, oh, what's he doing? Like he's a charismatic actor, and like this big like futuristic 1950s world. It's like, okay, that's cool. Oh, this vault thing, that's cool. And then this is just like, all right, an army. Like, okay,
Yeah.
what's I need a little bit more with this. John, is there more to this, or am I kind of right? Maybe of the three, is this the weaker of the three so far, at least?
To me, yeah, it was the weakest of the three. The Brotherhood, I believe, are kind of like tech obsessed. So like, they'll go around and try and find technology to kind of like either preserve or use or whatever. Um, they, yeah, it was kind of the weakest to me of the three. I'm hoping that they get a little bit more, um, a little bit more into the nuance of the Brotherhood rather than just like, oh yeah, they drop power armor and go fight. Like there is more to it than that, and
Hmm.
in some of the other games they have like I I I don't think it's gonna show up in this thing, so I'm not worried about really spoiling it. But like in Fallout 3, they make a gigantic like iron giant like robot to go fight, and like it spouts out all these like pro liberty like because the big opponent to the U.S. was the communists, so they it's going out to scour the wasteland and get rid of the communists and all that, even though there's nobody there but like animals and stuff. Um, so they have like they do things, but like this doesn't really show it. It just kind of looks like an army camp, and
Yeah.
yeah, they dropped in with the like that's it. Like, like it needs to it needs to be more. I don't want to say more detailed, but like they have to explore it more. You know.
Yeah. Yeah, we're Ducky in the chat saying like the strangeness. I guess there's a lot of strange stuff going on with the Brotherhood that they didn't really highlight on this. Yeah, maybe it's on the cutting room floor, or maybe we'll get it later. That it's just not like a normal army. There's something more here. Kyle, any thoughts
Well,
on Maximus and what's going on
yeah,
with him?
I mean, I thought it was the weakest segment too, but I mean, whenever you have, I think it's Michael Price, that actor that came in, the old guy. He always
Oh yeah,
feels
for
like
Mr. Robot.
eerie guy. So clearly there is something else going on, and also the fact that Maximus gets in the position that he's in because of a razor blade to an Achilles tendon, that doesn't signify that everyone's like high morals in this brotherhood. So I am interested to see where this goes, but I do agree. I think it's the weakest of the storylines. But there is a reveal in episode 2 that I think is hilarious based on who the actor is that's playing the mech suit. It's just so funny to me because when you think of like these guys in mech suits, it's like the badasses. So it's just so funny.
I wonder
So
if I
funny.
might know from like slight spoilers of I know of it, I won't spoil it and we can talk after of a guest star coming that I'm aware of. And I'm putting those pieces together that like
Maybe.
maybe it's that person, but
Maybe.
we'll see. I mean this storyline is posed to connect seemingly with the ghouls because I think they're searching for the same person, the same bounty. So it's like okay, at some point, these probably are going to collide. So maybe that'll excite things up a little bit here. Anything we should expect, John? I mean, is it future seasons, I guess, like I mean, how like I'm guessing this is probably focusing on like the first game, but like I mean, it sounds like there's so many other games.
This is independent of the games, it
Oh,
seems.
wow.
It's not following the storyline of any of the games, so it's its own thing, which I think was the right call to make. With
So it's not The
how
Last of Us, like scene for scene
no,
adaptation here.
no, not at all. With the vastness of the U.S. and the different factions they have and all that, I think it was the right call for them to do their own thing that could be part of the canon and all that. I know that I think before the first season even released, they had renewed it for a second season already. So I think California wrote them a pretty big tax break for filming in California. So
Yeah.
it seems like they may be doing more. Excuse me, more filming in California. I know they did some filming in New York. They had a set in Staten Island. You'll see the Super Duper Mart, which is like a convenience store, a ShopRite kind of thing, show up in. I think it was episode 4 that I saw it in. And I think they filmed some of the more foliage scenes. There's a couple outdoor scenes with a lot of foliage. I think that was filmed in New York as well, but I'm not 100%. But it seems like California is really giving them a couple bucks to produce a second season in California, so it might be mostly there or all there this time. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean,
But
they did mention California or in the show, I think like wherever they were
Well,
going to
yeah,
that
it takes
area.
place in California.
Oh,
so
okay. So I guess
I'm pretty
we're already
sure.
there.
Yeah, so
But
I'm pretty sure it takes place in California. But yeah, so it seems like they're well, they did get renewed for a second season, so it seems like it'll be done more as a West Coast thing this time. But I'm glad it got renewed for a second scene. It sounds good. We're saying the jungle scenes are in Nambia. Okay, so I was completely wrong. But
yeah, that's not upstate New York. No, it's
no, you might really get there from New York, but who knows?
Yeah.
But yeah, it seems like we get another season. Hopefully we get some continuation of a good show so far.
Yeah,
You know what?
Oh.
I was just gonna say, you know what stinks with this show is I feel like this could be a good show to build on week by week, and the fact that
yeah, they drop it all at
it's
once. I don't know
one
why
all at
Amazon's
once.
doing
It's
that.
like I don't know
Well,
who I can talk to about with
Because
this.
even like they did that with Mr. and Mrs. Smith, and I feel like it's another thing where it's like go week to week. You go week to week on The Boys, like
Yeah,
it builds momentum. It keeps it in the conversation because like I also
yeah,
for me as a viewer, I like the week to week because it's like a manageable thing. But to me, it's like oh, there's like 7 more episodes I could watch like right now. It's like I'll get to that, and the next thing I know, like a month from now, it's like oh, I got those episodes still. Like it's
yeah,
hard to
yeah.
I'm wondering if it's a call based on who their target audience is. You know what I mean? Because like a lot of gamers don't just play like, oh, I played chapter 1, I saved and stopped. Like it's that whole like binge the game kind of thing. So
That's
I wonder
true.
if that weighed
It's
into it.
true, but I
Whereas
also think that they pissed off the Boys fans when they went from a binge to a weekly release, and they didn't seem to care with that. But yeah,
yeah.
maybe we'll see for season 2 if they change it up. But it sounds like you're definitely gonna be watching more, John. Kyle, you're gonna continue on.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep watching.
Cool. All right, so that is it for this week's episode. We're gonna be off next week, but we'll be back at the very end of April. Yeah, I can't believe it. It's time for our annual summer box office draft. It's our yearly tradition as reigning champ. I'm very nervous right now. It's a very weird box office this summer. We'll break it all down in 2 weeks. Make sure you're following us on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, the blog, doredundancy.com. We are live on Twitch and on YouTube at the same time, twitch.tv/doredundancy. You can find those links on Twitter, Instagram, and on TikTok at doredundancy. I got to thank both of you guys for joining me tonight, for joining me at the movies this weekend and watch Civil War.
Oh yeah,
John directing the show and putting it up on Apple Podcast, Spotify. Couldn't do it without you guys. Yeah. All right. Until next time, I'm David Allen.
I'm John Berwick.
and I'm Kyle Bridger.
And that's all we got for Door Duncy. Goodbye, everybody.